Welcome, adventurers, to Tome Torch, the podcast where we explore the realms, monsters, and magic lurking in the dark corners of gaming history.
Among other things.
We're your hosts, Dex Modifier
And Rhea Frost.
And today we're taking a trip to the most notorious plane in the D&D multiverse, the Nine Hells of Baator.
Oh, it's getting hot in here. And not in a fun way. If your campaign has ever needed the ultimate evil locale, or you've wondered what exactly happens when a truly wicked soul meets its end, you're in the right place.
We'll be descending through all 9 layers of this infernal realm, examining how the Nine Hells evolved across D&D editions, meeting the archdevils who rule each circle, and uncovering the eternal schemes that make Baator the perfect campaign setting for high-stakes adventure.
But first, a word from our imaginary sponsor.
Tired of those awkward conversations with your local paladin? Introducing Asmodeus' Alibi Amulet, the infernal accessory for the morally flexible hero.
I was caught red-handed, sacrificing a chicken to my patron, but the amulet instantly conjured an illusion of me feeding orphans instead.
This cleverly enchanted pendant automatically detects good-aligned creatures and projects a customized illusion of you performing virtuous deeds. Complete with built-in excuse generator and a patented holy aura simulator that temporarily masks your alignment during Zone of Truth interrogations.
My party still thinks I'm donating to temples when I sneak off to cultist meetings.
Asmodeus' Alibi Amulet, because what happens in the Nine Hells should stay in the Nine Hells.
To understand the Nine Hells, we need to start with its origins. Not in the game's lore, but in the real-world development of D&D itself.
The concept of a multi-layered hell was first introduced in the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual back in 1977, where Gary Gygax detailed a strict hierarchy of devils arranged in a rigid caste system.
But it wasn't until Ed Greenwood penned his famous 2-part article, The Nine Hells for Dragon Magazine in 1983, that this infernal domain really took shape. Greenwood described each layer in lavish, nightmarish detail, from the war-torn plains of Avernus to the dark citadel-filled chasms of Nessus.
And boy, he did not hold back on the horror. Listen to this description from Greenwood's article about Phlegethos, the 4th layer.
Rivers of liquid fire cross the burning landscape, which is dotted with volcanoes and sulfur pools. The air itself seems aflame, and visitors take damage from the intense heat.
Cozy, pack your sunscreen, kids. These early descriptions helped to establish the plane within the Great Wheel cosmology. Baator became a single outer plane with 9 infinite layers rigidly stacked, each accessible through fixed gates.
In these early days, the Nine Hells was firmly established as the epitome of lawful evil, a place where deals were binding, hierarchies were absolute, and malevolence was codified into a system.
Which is honestly scarier than chaos. Chaotic evil is a rabid dog that might bite you. Lawful evil is the Internal Revenue Service.
Accurate. When 2nd edition came along in 1989, things got interesting.
You mean because of the satanic panic?
Precisely. Due to the moral outrage of the late 80s, TSR removed the words like devil and demon from the game's lexicon.
Suddenly, devils became Baatezu, and the Nine Hells was officially titled Baator. But despite the name changes, this was when the lore of Hell actually deepened considerably.
The Planescape campaign setting in 1994 gave us a cosmopolitan view of the multiverse, including Baator. Each layer received lavish attention, and we got our first real look at the politics of Hell.
This was also when the Blood War was introduced, the eternal conflict between the devils of Baator and the demons of the Abyss. Suddenly, Hell wasn't just a place of punishment, but a war machine pumping out legions to fight an endless battle against chaotic evil.
By the late 90s, we got A Guide to Hell, which introduced one of the most important concepts in infernal lore, the Pact Primeval.
According to this myth, Asmodeus presented the gods with a contract allowing devils to lawfully harvest corrupt mortal souls to punish in Baator. The gods agreed, not realizing they were basically giving Hell a license to recruit and expand its armies.
Classic fine print. Never sign a contract with a devil.
From there, 3rd edition really codified everything. The Fiendish Codex. 2. Tyrants of the Nine Hells became the definitive source, detailing the entire hierarchy and giving us the classic roster of archdevils we know today.
It was in the 3rd edition that we got the full account of the Reckoning, a massive civil war between the archdevils that ended with Asmodeus triumphant and various lords punished or deposed.
The Reckoning was the most momentous event in the history of Hell. When it was over, Asmodeus had cemented his position as the unquestioned ruler of Baator, and the hierarchy we know today was established.
4th edition took a dramatically different approach, replacing the traditional Great Wheel with the World Axis cosmology. The Nine Hells became an actual planet or planetoid adrift in the astral sea, rather than infinite layers.
And Asmodeus got a promotion, from archdevil to full-blown god.
In 4E lore, Asmodeus was once an angel who betrayed and slew a god of good, absorbing divine power. His fall from the heavens literally created the Nine Hells in the astral sea.
Talk about making an entrance.
Finally, 5th edition returned to the Great Wheel cosmology and embraced the accumulated lore of past editions. The Nine Hells once again became a key outer plane in the default multiverse.
And we got the adventure module, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, which put Baator front and center. This adventure deals with Zariel's fall and possible redemption, and gives players a chance to actually explore Hell firsthand.
So we have this incredible evolution. From Gygax's initial concept of a hierarchical evil realm, to Greenwood's detailed layers, to Planescape's cosmic context, to 3E's political intrigues, to 4E's mythic origins, and finally to 5E's synthesis of it all.
The Nine Hells truly evolved into one of the most fully realized and compelling settings in D&D, and it's all lawful evil, so you know exactly what you're getting into. A place where contracts are binding, everyone has an agenda, and the fine print will absolutely kill you.
Or worse.
Almost certainly worse. Let's take a journey through the Nine Hells, layer by layer. Think of it as a demonic real estate tour. Today's special, properties with endless torture and unimaginable suffering.
Starting with our most accessible location, Avernus.
As described in the 5E module, Descent into Avernus, the first layer of Hell is a blasted wasteland of rubble and fire. This is the front line of the Blood War, where legions of devils battle endless hordes of demons.
The skies of Avernus are filled with streaking fireballs, and the plains are dotted with fortresses and war machines.
Currently ruled by Zariel, a fallen angel turned archdevil, Avernus serves as both Hell's first line of defense and its reception area. Any souls damned to the Nine Hells arrive here first.
Talk about a welcoming committee.
Fun fact, the river Styx flows through Avernus, and its waters cause complete memory loss to anyone unfortunate enough to touch them.
That's actually a plot point in many published adventures. Characters who fall into the Styx forget who they are, which is incredibly dangerous in a place where knowing who to trust is everything.
Avernus is also home to Tiamat, the dragon goddess, who isn't exactly a devil but has an uneasy alliance with him. Her lair sits near the entrance to the second layer.
Let's head on down to Dis, the second layer.
Dis is dominated by the Iron City of Dis, an enormous metropolis of metal where the streets and buildings are scorching hot. The city is surrounded by a moat of fire and extends seemingly forever.
The city's buildings are forged of iron, yet fashioned as if they were made of clay, twisted into impossible shapes. The streets are patrolled by barbed devils and Arenia's warriors, loyal to Lord Despater.
Despater, the Lord of the Second, is known as the Iron Duke. He's incredibly paranoid and rarely leaves his tower, ruling through proxies and spies.
This is essentially a police state where everyone is watching everyone else. It's the ultimate surveillance society, with devils reporting any hint of rebellion or weakness.
Time to descend into Minoros, the third layer.
Minoros is a disgusting swamp of filth, disease, and decay. Acidic rain falls constantly, corroding anything not protected by magic or infernal resilience.
The layer is ruled by Mammon, the Lord of Greed, whose own realm is the city of Minoros, a sinking metropolis that must be constantly rebuilt as it slowly submerges into the bog.
Minoros perfectly represents the sin of avarice. Everything is for sale here, but everything is also corrupted, tarnished, or decaying. It's essentially a hellish version of an abandoned mall where the fountains are filled with acid.
Next up is Phlegethos, the fourth layer.
Phlegethos is a volcanic wasteland where rivers of fire flow across the burning landscape. The air itself seems to combust, and the ground occasionally erupts in geysers of flame.
This layer is jointly ruled by Belial and his daughter Fierna, a unique arrangement in Hell's hierarchy. Belial puts Fierna forward as the figurehead while retaining power behind the scenes.
Their capital is Abrimach, the city of brimstone where devils gather for fiendish court intrigues. Imagine the most cutthroat corporate boardroom, but literally on fire.
Phlegethos is home to Hell's legal system, such as it is. The Court of Woe in Abrimach is where disputes between devils are settled through complex legal procedures and trial by combat.
Speaking of cold legal proceedings, let's slide down to Stygia, the fifth layer.
Stygia is where Hell has literally frozen over. It's a vast frozen sea, a radical departure from the fire we usually associate with Hell. The layer is locked in eternal winter with massive icebergs floating in a dark, cold ocean.
It's ruled by Levistus, who has the unique distinction of being both the ruler of the layer and its most famous prisoner. Asmodeus imprisoned him in a block of ice for murdering his consort Ben-Sozia.
Talk about a cold reception.
Despite being frozen solid, Levistus continues to rule Stygia through a telepathy, commanding his followers from his icy prison.
That's job dedication.
Stygian cities are built on the icebergs, including Tantlin, the city of ice, which is inhabited by devils who worship Levistus and perform his will in hopes of freeing him someday.
Let's move on now to Malbolge, the sixth layer.
Malbolge was traditionally described as a realm of boulders and steep slopes, where damned souls were crushed between massive rolling stones, but it underwent a dramatic transformation.
In D&D lore, Malbolge was once ruled by the Hag Countess, who transformed the layer into a nightmarish landscape of living flesh. But even she was eventually replaced when Glazia, the daughter of Asmodeus, took control.
Under Glacia's rule, Malbolge has become a massive prison complex and a breeding ground for schemes. She's established a secret police called the Order of the Flesh that monitors activities across Hell.
Let's go down another layer to Maladomini, the seventh layer.
Maladomini is a plain of ruined cities, abandoned mines, and collapsed fortresses. Its ruler, Baalzebul, the Lord of Flies, constantly orders new cities built, only to abandon them when they fail to meet his impossible standards.
Oh yeah, The Lord of the Flies is that book we had to read as kids. Was that like a biography about Baalzebul?
Parents, this is why you need to read to your children.
As punishment for his role in the Reckoning, Asmodeus transformed Baalzebul from his beautiful form into that of a giant slug, forcing him to slither through his own domain in shame.
The only completed city in Maladomini is Malagard, which serves as Baalzebul's seat of power. But even it is a work in perpetual progress, never quite finished to its lord's satisfaction.
We're nearly at the bottom now with Cania, the eighth layer.
Cania makes Stygia look like a beach vacation. It's a realm of absolute cold, with howling blizzards that can freeze the soul itself. Mountains of ice rise from plains of glacier, and the air is so cold it can shatter steel.
This frozen wasteland is ruled by Mephistopheles, the Lord of No Mercy, who dwells in the citadel of Mephistar where he conducts arcane experiments with Hellfire. Lord of No Mercy could have been a good sequel to Lord of the Flies, don't you think?
I'm not going to dignify that with a response. Anyway, Mephistopheles is perhaps Asmodeus' greatest rival, always plotting to someday usurp the throne of Baator. He's a master manipulator who masks his ambition behind a veneer of loyalty.
And finally, we reach the bottom. Nessus, the ninth layer.
Nessus is the deepest pit of Hell, a dark realm of massive chasms and towering spires. Here sits Malshim, the citadel of Hell, where Asmodeus himself rules from his burning throne.
According to some sources, what most see as Asmodeus is merely an avatar, while his true form lies wounded in the depths of Nessus, an enormous serpent-like being cast down by the gods when he first rebelled.
Nessus is the most secure and secretive layer. Few besides Asmodeus' most trusted servants ever see it, and fewer still return to tell the tale.
Together, these 9 layers form a coherent and terrifying whole, a place designed to contain, punish, and ultimately corrupt. Each represents different aspects of lawful evil, from the militarism of Avernus to the tyranny of Dis, the greed of Minoros, the wrath of Phlegathos, the treachery of Stygia, the oppression of Malbolge, the pride of Maladomini, the ambition of Cania, and the absolute power of Nessus.
It's like the world's worst vacation package. Visit the Nine Hells, come for the brimstone, stay because you literally can't leave.
If you thought human politics were cutthroat, you haven't seen anything until you've witnessed the eternal power struggles of the Nine Hells.
The Lords of the Nine, the ruler of each layer, engage in a complex dance of alliances, betrayals, and schemes that would make Machiavelli weep with admiration.
At the top of this infernal pyramid sits Asmodeus, the undisputed ruler of Baator. With his ruby rod, a staff of office that contains unfathomable power, he maintains iron control over all layers of hell.
Asmodeus is the original devil, according to most sources. Whether he was a fallen angel, a rebellious deity, or something else entirely depends on which edition's lore you're reading.
But one thing remains consistent. He's the supreme chess master. Every rebellion against him has failed, every scheme has been anticipated. He's always 12 steps ahead.
Asmodeus appears as a handsome humanoid standing 13 feet tall with magnificent horns, dark skin, and eyes like burning embers. His charisma is hypnotic, his intellect unmatched. To even be in his presence is to know you are utterly outclassed.
Let's meet the other major players in Hell's hierarchy, starting with Zariel, current ruler of Avernus. Zariel has one of the most compelling stories among the archdevils. She was once an angel, a champion of good who became obsessed with fighting demons and the Blood War.
Leading a company of mortal warriors called the Hell Riders into Avernus, she was betrayed and abandoned. Captured by devils and brought before Asmodeus, she was offered a chance to continue her war against demons, but as a servant of Hell.
Her fall from grace is literally marked by her appearance. Her once radiant form is now burned and blinded by hate. She even lost one of her angelic hands, which was replaced with a deadly iron flail.
Her story gets even more complicated. For a time, she was deposed by her lieutenant, a pit fiend named Bel, who imprisoned her and siphoned her power.
That's right. In 3rd edition, Bel was actually the ruler of Avernus, with Zariel imprisoned. But by 5th edition, Asmodeus had restored Zariel to power, with Bel demoted to a reluctant advisor.
Moving on to Dispater, the Lord of Dis.
If paranoia was an Olympic sport, Dispater would have all the gold medals. He rarely leaves his iron tower, ruling through proxies and spies, convinced that everyone is out to get him.
To be fair, in Hell, everyone is out to get you.
True. And his paranoia has served him well. He's one of the few archdevils who survived the reckoning relatively unscathed.
He's sometimes called the First King and is one of the oldest archdevils. His realm reflects his personality, rigid, controlled, and constantly under surveillance.
Then there's Mammon, Lord of Minoros.
Mammon is the embodiment of greed. Formerly an angelic being of wealth and prosperity, he now oversees a realm dedicated to the corruption of avarice.
During the Reckoning, that civil war we mentioned earlier, Mammon infamously broke allegiance mid-war. He switched sides to Asmodeus at the last second, betraying his fellow rebels.
A decision that earned him Asmodeus's contempt. He was forced to grovel in eternal shame. He kept his position, but none of his peers would ever trust him again.
Mammon is often depicted as partly serpentine, with golden scales and a forked tongue. He's obsessed with wealth and bargains, and is perhaps the most likely archdevil to make deals with mortals.
The 4th layer is ruled by both Belial and his daughter Fierna.
This father-daughter duo has one of the most unusual arrangements in Hell. After the Reckoning, Belial prudently abdicated open rulership of Phlegathos to his daughter Fierna to dodge responsibility for his rebellion.
Officially, Fierna rules, but everyone knows Belial pulls the strings from behind the throne. They're both known for their seductive nature and manipulative charm.
One of the most fascinating rulers is Levistus of Stygia.
Levistus is literally frozen in a block of ice, imprisoned by Asmodeus for murdering his consort Ben-Suzia.
Yet in a twisted display of cruelty, Asmodeus still named him the Lord of the Fifth, forcing him to rule telepathically, able to observe but never physically interact with his realm.
It's like being able to watch Netflix, but not being able to change the show when a bad episode comes on.
That's actually a pretty apt metaphor for eternal torment.
Levistus is constantly plotting to free himself from his icy prison. His followers in the frozen cities of Stygia work tirelessly to find a way to release him.
Glazia, ruler of Malbolga, is another intriguing figure.
As the daughter of Asmodeus himself, Glazia occupies a unique position in the hierarchy. She was elevated to rulership relatively recently after Asmodeus arranged the demise of the previous ruler, the Hag Countess.
Glazia is described as cunning, rebellious, yet fiercely protective of her status. She introduced reforms in Malbolg, turning it into a massive prison complex and establishing a secret police force.
She's young by archdevil standards, which makes her unpredictable and dangerous. Many of the other lords view her with caution, knowing she has her father's protection.
Then there's the tragic case of Baalzebul, Lord of the Seventh.
Once the most beautiful of angels, Baalzebul led one of the factions during the Reckoning, directly challenging Asmodeus' rule.
His punishment was severe. Asmodeus transformed his once beautiful form into that of a giant slug, to forever remind him of his disgrace.
Baalzebul rules Maladomini from a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. He orders city after city built, only to abandon each when it fails to meet his impossible standards.
It's a reflection of his own fall. Once perfect, now corrupted, and unable to recapture his former glory.
Mephistopheles, Lord of Cania, is perhaps Asmodeus' greatest rival.
Cold in demeanor but burning with ambition, Mephistopheles is a master of hellfire magic. He conducts endless arcane experiments in his fortress of Mephistar, seeking a way to eventually challenge Asmodeus.
He's described as tall and handsome, with dark blue skin and sweeping horns. Always impeccably dressed, he presents himself as the sophisticated face of evil. Wouldn't mind meeting him in a bar.
Despite leading one of the factions during the Reckoning, Mephistopheles received a relatively mild punishment. He retained control of Cania, possibly because Asmodeus wants to keep his greatest potential rival close and complacent.
These archdevils aren't just static bosses waiting in their lairs to be defeated, they're active participants in an eternal game of power and influence. They make alliances, break them, curry favor with Asmodeus, and plot against one another.
And that brings us to perhaps the most significant political event in Hell's history, the Reckoning.
The Reckoning was a rebellion and civil war in which nearly all the archdevils turned against Asmodeus and against each other in a grab for ultimate power.
Two factions emerged, one led by Mephistopheles, allied with Despater, Mammon, and Geryon, and another led by Baalzebul, allied with Zariel, Belial, and Moloch.
The details are, well, devilish, but the key point is that Asmodeus knew about the rebellion all along. He had planted agents in both camps and arranged for the rebels to destroy each other.
When the dust settled, Asmodeus emerged unscathed, while several archdevils were deposed or punished. Most notably, Moloch lost his position as ruler of Malbolg, and Baalzebul was transformed into a slug.
Talk about a fall from grace! The Reckoning reshaped the political landscape of the Nine Hells into its current form and serves as a constant reminder to any devil who might consider challenging Asmodeus.
For players and dungeon masters, the political intrigue of Hell offers endless storytelling opportunities. Maybe your party needs to navigate these tensions to achieve their goals, making deals with one archdevil while avoiding the attention of another.
Or perhaps they're unwittingly being used as pawns in some ancient grudge between Baalzebul and Mephistopheles.
Whatever the case, understanding the relationships and rivalries between the Lords of the Nine adds depth to any infernal adventure.
Just remember, in Hell every deal has a price, every promise has a loophole, and every alliance is temporary.
No discussion of the Nine Hells would be complete without addressing the two great cosmic narratives that define its existence: the Pact Primeval and the Blood War.
These aren't just bits of flavor text, they're the foundational stories that explain why Hell exists and what keeps it functioning in the D&D multiverse.
Let's start with the Pact Primeval, Hell's origin story. In the dimmest memory of the multiverse, after the gods created mortal souls, they had a problem. What to do with souls that succumbed to evil?
Enter Asmodeus, then a mighty celestial or servant of law. He proposed a solution. He and his followers would punish the wicked in a dedicated realm, protecting the heavens from corruption. The gods agreed in the form of a binding contract, the Pact Primeval. Asmodeus and his devils were granted the right to claim the souls of evil mortals and extract power from them in proportion to the sin, in exchange for keeping the forces of chaos at bay.
But the fine print of the pact hid Asmodeus's true intent. By eternally punishing souls, the devils gained power. A loophole that effectively allowed hell to become a furnace, fueled by mortal sin.
In some versions of the story, there was even a cosmic trial of Asmodeus, where the gods tried to denounce him for being too cruel in his methods. But he simply produced the pact as evidence and won his case.
The Pact Primeval explains why devils are so obsessed with contracts and legality. Their entire existence is founded on a legal loophole. They rarely break a contract outright. They exploit interpretation and find ways to twist the agreement to their advantage.
It also explains why Asmodeus can claim to act with authority. He literally has a contract signed by the gods allowing him to do what he does.
Now, as for the Blood War, imagine a conflict so vast, so eternal, that it makes any mortal war look like a playground squabble.
The Blood War is the endless battle between the devils of the Nine Hells and the demons of the Abyss. It's a war of law against chaos, of calculated evil versus unbridled destruction.
Devils see it as their duty and right to subjugate or destroy demons, whom they view as vermin destroying the cosmos with chaos. But in truth, it's also a fight for domination of all evil.
Think about it. Whoever wins the Blood War could potentially turn their sights on the upper planes next. That's why some Celestials are content to let the evil planes destroy each other.
Canonically, neither side has ever gained a definitive upper hand. The war ebbs and flows across Avernus, the Abyss, and various planar battlefields.
The Blood War explains a lot about Hell's structure in society. It's why devils want so many souls, to bolster their armies. It's why Avernus is littered with fortresses and war machines. It's even why archdevils sometimes can't fully cooperate. They disagree on how resources should be allocated to the war effort.
It should be noted that in 4th edition, the Blood War was officially ended by moving the Abyss far from Baator in the cosmology. But by 5th edition, it was back in full swing.
These two cosmic narratives, the Pact Primeval and the Blood War, aren't just background lore. They're active forces that shape how devils think and act.
If your campaign involves hell, consider how these events might impact your story. Maybe a devil offers the party a contract that seems beneficial but contains hidden clauses. Or perhaps the characters find themselves caught in a Blood War skirmish.
The beauty of these cosmic conflicts is that they provide a framework for understanding devil motivation without simplifying devils to generic evil beings. They have a purpose, a history, and a way of viewing the multiverse that makes them unique antagonists.
And for players who enjoy moral ambiguity, the Pact Primeval offers some interesting questions. Are devils truly evil if they're just fulfilling their cosmic duty? Is Asmodeus a villain or just an extremely effective lawyer?
I mean, aren't those the same thing?
As a DM, you can use these concepts to add depth to your infernal encounters. A devil might justify its actions by citing the pact, or a pit fiend might demand the party's help in fighting demons for the greater cosmic good.
Remember, in the mind of a devil, everything they do is justified and necessary. They're not evil for evil's sake. They're maintaining order in the multiverse, one damned soul at a time.
Pull up a chair and grab a drink, adventurers. It's time for Tales from the Tavern, where we share the most bizarre, hilarious, and horrifying stories from actual gaming tables.
First up, we have the contract lawyer from hell. Literally.
My players thought they were clever, hiring an Arinyes lawyer to review a contract with Despater. What they didn't realize was that their lawyer was secretly working for Mammon, who wanted to sabotage the deal.
The devil lawyer actually added clauses while translating the infernal text that would funnel wealth to Mammon's coffers and bind one party member to eventual service in Minoros.
The players only discovered the betrayal when they tried to leverage their contract against another devil, who laughed and pointed out the extra clauses they'd unknowingly agreed to.
The moral of the story? In hell, even your lawyer needs a lawyer.
Here's a good one: the ice fishing expedition.
A group of high-level adventurers needed information from Levistus, who's trapped in that massive iceberg in Stygia, right?
So they decided to go ice fishing. For an archdevil, they drilled a hole through the ice and dropped magical communication devices down to make contact with him.
Levistus was so amused by their audacity that he actually helped them, giving them information about Glacia's plans in exchange for a promise to someday help free him.
The DM described how Levistus's voice came echoing up through the ice hole, accompanied by a map to a hidden vault in Malbolge.
That's actually pretty nice for a devil.
Then there's the Avernus road trip campaign.
I ran Descent into Avernus, but my players got so attached to the infernal war machines that the whole thing turned into a Mad Max-style chase across hell.
This DM modified the adventure so that the party had to race across Avernus in their war machines, pursued by both demon hordes and Zariel's forces. They went from reluctant heroes to gleeful chaos agents, ramming their vehicles through formations of devils.
Apparently, they even customized their machines with skulls and flame detailing. One player's warlock made a deal with a pit fiend to install a nitro boost powered by soul energy.
Finally, we have what might be the most epic hell-based campaign ever, The Great Escape.
This was a year-long campaign where the premise was that the entire party had been damned to hell for crimes they committed in life. Their goal was to escape the Nine Hells by descending all the way to Nessus and finding a mythical portal.
What made this campaign special was that each layer presented unique challenges that weren't just combat-focused.
In Dis, they had to navigate the legal system and political intrigue. In Minoros, they faced moral temptations of greed. In Phlegethos, they competed in gladiatorial games.
By the time they reached Nessus, they'd made allies and enemies across hell, accumulated favors and debts, and even helped foment a small rebellion against one of Asmodeus's lieutenants.
The campaign climaxed with the players discovering that the portal was actually a trap set by Asmodeus to identify ambitious souls. But because they'd shown such ingenuity in their descent, he offered them a different deal: service as his special agents rather than eternal torment.
That's the thing about hell campaigns. They're perfect for moral quandaries. Do you escape but leave allies behind? Do you accept a devil's bargain if it means survival? How much of your humanity are you willing to sacrifice?
These stories remind us that hell isn't just a place for hack-and-slash adventures. It's a setting rich with potential for intrigue, horror, negotiation, and even moments of dark humor.
Whether your party is dealing with the politics of archdevils or just trying to survive Avernus, the Nine Hells can be the backdrop for some of the most memorable campaigns in D&D. Alright, Game Masters of all alignments, this segment is for you. The GM's Toolbox.
Let's talk about how to effectively use the Nine Hells in your campaigns, starting with my Infernal Campaign Types table. I'll roll a d6 to see what kind of hell-based adventure might spark your creativity.
And it's a 4.
The Heist. Your players must steal something from one of the layers of hell. Perhaps it's a soul contract from Dispater's Iron Vaults, an artifact from Mephistopheles' collection, or a prisoner from Glacia's dungeons.
I love a good heist. And in hell, the security isn't just guards and locks. It's metaphysical barriers, soul-binding wards, and devils who can literally smell deceit.
Let's explore some other campaign types that work wonderfully with the Nine Hells.
The Descent is a classic. Players start in Avernus and must journey deeper into hell, with each layer presenting a new challenge. Think of it as a planar dungeon crawl, where the environment grows increasingly hostile.
The diplomatic mission is more subtle. Perhaps the party represents a powerful entity, a deity, an archfey, or even a mortal kingdom in negotiations with one or more archdevils.
Then there's the rescue mission. Someone important is trapped in hell, and the party must extract them. It could be a beloved NPC, another player character, or even a historical figure whose soul was claimed by devils.
Of course, my personal favorite is the Devil's Advocate. where players are actually working for a devil, carrying out tasks in the mortal realm or elsewhere in hell. This creates fascinating moral tensions.
Regardless of the campaign type, incorporating devil contracts into your game is a must. These binding agreements are the cornerstone of infernal society.
Here are my 5 top tips for creating memorable devil contracts in your game.
Tip number 1, make the offer. Tempting. When a devil presents a contract, the initial terms should seem favorable to the players. Perhaps they offer power, information, or assistance that the party desperately needs. The best contracts solve an immediate problem while creating a long-term one.
Remember, devils are patient. They're fine with a deal that pays off centuries later. They're immortal, after all.
Tip number 2, include fine print and loopholes. This is where the fun begins. A devil's contract should contain clauses written in deliberately confusing language, hidden provisions, or terms that can be interpreted in multiple ways.
For example, a contract might promise to transport the party safely to their destination, but doesn't specify when they'll arrive. Or it might offer to remove an obstacle, but doesn't clarify that the devil will create 2 new problems in its place.
Tip number 3, focus on something valuable. While claiming souls is the traditional devil's bargain, contracts can ask for other payments: years of life, memories, emotions, or future services. One devil might ask for the happiest day of your life, literally stealing that memory from you.
I once had a devil who collected voices. His contracts would leave signatories permanently mute.
Tip number 4, give players a chance to scrutinize. Don't just spring contract traps on your players without giving them a fair chance to spot the deception. Allow intelligence checks to notice suspicious clauses or history checks to recall stories of similar deals gone wrong.
If a player comes up with a creative way to test the contract or verify its terms, reward that ingenuity. Perhaps they find a loophole of their own that limits the devil's claim.
Tip number 5, contracts should be binding but breakable. Once signed, a devil's contract should be difficult, but not impossible to break. Maybe the party can find the original copy in the devil's vault and destroy it. Or perhaps they can appeal to a higher power in the infernal hierarchy.
Quests to break devil contracts make for excellent story arcs. It's a great way to extend the narrative consequences of a desperate decision.
Now let's talk about how to bring the 9 distinct layers of hell to life in your game. Each should feel unique, with its own hazards and atmosphere.
For Avernus, the constant threat of the Blood War provides perfect background tension. Random encounter tables should include not just devils, but demons who've broken through the lines. The sky rains fire at unpredictable intervals, and safe rest is nearly impossible.
Ds emphasize surveillance and paranoia. Devils watch from every corner, and speaking treasonously, even in whispers, somehow always gets back to Despouter's spies.
For Minoros' swamps, focus on corruption and decay. Everything the players carry begins to rot or tarnish. Even magic items might temporarily lose their luster, or power unless specially protected.
In fiery Phlegethos, the heat should be a constant drain on resources. Players might need to spend water or magic daily just to avoid exhaustion, and metal equipment becomes too hot to touch unless cooled.
Stygia's ice poses the opposite problem: extreme cold that numbs the body and mind. Perhaps players suffer penalties to perception or concentration if they don't find ways to stay warm.
For each layer, consider unique rules that reflect its nature. In Malbolge, under Glazia's rule, perhaps divination magic is particularly difficult due to her Order of the Flesh monitoring all communications.
In Maladomini, the endless construction and abandonment could manifest as shifting geography. Maps become useless after a day as Balzibal orders landscapes reshaped.
Cania's Killing Cold might require constitution saves not just to avoid damage, but to prevent spells from literally freezing before completion.
And in Nessus, perhaps reality itself bends to Asmodeus' will. Details in the environment change subtly when not being observed, creating a sense of unreality and doubt.
Finally, remember that devils are bound by their nature. They must follow certain rules, which gives players potential leverage. Devils can't break contracts, can't resist responding to their true names, and certain symbols or rituals can bind or repel them.
This allows smart players to potentially outwit devils rather than just fighting them directly, which is often suicide anyway, given their power.
So in summary, make each layer feel distinct, create contracts with tempting offers and hidden dangers, and remember that Hell operates on laws and loopholes. Do all that, and your Infernal campaign will be unforgettable.
And if all else fails, just throw more fire at them. It's Hell after all.
From Gary Gygax's original concept to the richly detailed layers of 5th edition, the Nine Hells of Baator has evolved into one of the most compelling settings in the D&D multiverse.
It's a place of contradictions. Rigid law, but eternal plotting. Ancient traditions, but constant scheming for change. A realm that punishes sin yet thrives on corruption.
Whether your campaign involves a brief negotiation with a crafty devil, or a full-scale descent through all 9 layers, the Nine Hells offers challenges that go beyond mere combat.
It tests characters' morals, their ingenuity, and their ability to navigate a world where everything has a price and the fine print can damn you for eternity.
As Asmodeus himself might say, the Nine Hells welcome all visitors. It's the leaving part that proves difficult.
So, the next time your players sign a suspiciously beneficial contract or open a portal to somewhere a bit too warm, remember.
In the Nine Hells, the game is always rigged, but that doesn't mean clever adventurers can't find ways to beat the house.
This has been Infernal Designs, a journey through the Nine Hells on the Tome and Torch podcast. I'm Rhea Frost.
And I'm Dex Modifier.
Reminding you to always read the fine print.
Wait, does anyone else smell brimstone?
Uh-oh, I think we've said Nine Hells too many times in one podcast. Run for it.
Produced, written, and recorded by Madeline Jarbo. Music by Afaline. The Tome and Torch podcast is a production of Tome and Torch Press. No souls were damned in the making of this podcast. Probably.